Welcome to Honda Talk. My name's Ian Wright. I'm here with Matt Eugenio. How you doing, Matt?
Hello, Ian. Good. How are you?
I'm very good. Very good. Shall we crack straight on with the little bit of news we have?
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a quiet time of year, isn't it?
Just a bit. Haven't heard much ramblings in the Honda world this past week, so.
But Honda have released their sales for August. Yeah, apparently the HRV has set a new August sales record. And
that's great.
Yeah, it's jumped 26.7% on sales.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean a full 25% and a bit is really good.
That's great. That's great news.
Still not its best month ever, short by I think 176 units. Civic sales have topped 36,000. So that's an 11.2% gain in August. I guess that's from the previous month, because last year, if I'm right, it's actually a little bit down in Civic sales, but not a lot. Like nothing to write home about. And the Accord hit 30,000 sales for the month, which is kind of interesting because sedan sales, the manufacturers tend to be going down while the crossovers are going up. But the Accord just seems to be sitting there doing what it does.
That's what the Accord does. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah. For Acura, ILX sales were up for the third month in a row. That's a nice little trend. 17.7% in August on sales of 1,380. And RDX sales have gone up as well. But it's interesting when you read the Honda reports. What's more interesting than what they do tell you is probably what they don't tell you, because they do other cars as well. So the CRV, that's a big one for Honda.
Absolutely.
Which I believe had 30,000 sales last month. So yeah, that's about all the exciting news for this week.
Yippee!
What a start to this podcast we're having. No news.
The interesting bit was the ILX sales, because I don't see any on the road.
I can't say I
at
do
all.
Either. No.
So whatever they're selling, it's not in LA.
Which you would have thought would be the natural home of the ILX, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I do see some TLXs here and there. Like, I'll be lucky if I see one a week, but I'll see MDXs and RDXs all week long. But in terms of the ILX, like, that's it's very interesting that not only are they selling a lot, but they're increasing as time goes on.
Yeah. There's I'm guessing that Lexus might be a little bit bigger in other countries than it is here, in the same way that Honda is actually a bigger thing here than it is in the UK where I grew up. Hondas weren't.
Right.
Hondas have never been huge in the UK. It's always been dominated by, Ford of Europe and Vauxhall, who are part of GM. So we do have a subject this week, somewhat of a subject.
We do.
You wanted to talk about the S2000 because that's kind of been on our brains lately.
Yes. For the past week or so, I've been writing a lot about S2000s for S2KI.com. So, if I have a full load of assignments full of S2000s, that's all I've been thinking about. And it kind of... I know, it kind of rejogged my memory. It's kind of like if I were to get another car, a toy, what have you, it would probably be the S2000.
Here's a question. Do you think you could justify spending? I mean, what do you need to spend to get a decent S2000 now? 15?
The first question you want to ask yourself, which which chassis do you want? Did you want the earlier AP1 with the 2-liter engine that revs up to 9,000, or the later model, the AP2, with the 2.2-liter that only revs to 8, but they improved the suspension geometry, and it depends. Do you want higher revving? Do you want more torque? Do you want
we're
a little bit more tail happy? Yeah.
We're opening up all the subjects at once.
Okay.
So the AP1 and the AP2 chassis.
Yes.
Let's circle around and try and answer that question at the end of the discussion.
Sure.
So you've got the AP1 and the AP2. The AP1 was just the chassis. I mean, the engine was one thing, the chassis was another. Obviously, the engine revved out, like you said. The AP2, the engine revved up to, what was it, 8,200?
8,000. Around there, yes.
But it had a little more torque lower down, didn't it?
Yes.
But the AP1 with the chassis, whenever you talk about the S2000 or you read an S2000 like a comment thread, you're going to hear someone talking about the oversteer. What they call it? They call it snap oversteer.
Yes.
And now I've got limited experience driving S2000s, but it was the AP1 that I got to drive, and I got to drive it fairly hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was twitchy compared with normal road cars.
Yes.
That's kind of how I felt. I felt it was twitchy. Like it wanted to change direction really quick, which is kind of what you want out of a sports car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, depending on preferences, sure, but the snap oversteer, I really do get the feeling that was more of a case of people running out of talent in a rear-wheel drive car, and then not wanting to admit it was their talent running out.
That's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I have to agree with you. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it was a bit twitchy, but there's good twitchy and there's bad twitchy. Obviously, when you're driving, you were able to tell right when you're going to hit the limit, and you're ready to catch it as soon as the rear would step out.
Right.
So, like, case in point, if you can't handle it, then it's the driver's fault. You know, don't blame the car. It's just what, you know, the populace is saying, that it's oversteering. I always hated that argument about the AP1, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, the idea of snap oversteer, I mean, snap oversteer is sudden and very violent oversteer. But it does get used a lot for an excuse, I'm sure. Because if you're getting there's a million ways you can induce oversteer in a car. And people will panic mid-corner. Like they feel the rear end go and they're not used to it and come off the pedal. That is, I'm kind of 90% sure that's where that's come from with the S2000. Because the car rotates so well.
It does.
And if you feel the rear end go and you lift off the throttle, guess what? That's not snap oversteer. That's a misjudgment.
You're essentially just increasing the weight transfer over to the outside, thus creating the oversteer even more.
Yeah, and I don't know. I honestly, I haven't had enough experience driving it to call a full judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, snap oversteer would come a lot earlier, or what you would call snap oversteer would come a lot earlier in the car than I felt. Like no, I'm just not convinced. And then for the AP2 version, they basically revised the chassis for like more stability at the limits and make the characteristics of the rear made it more progressive as it eventually gave up on grip.
Absolutely. It was. I feel like it was a bit more on the neutral side.
Yeah, which is basically what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm. Also, the AP2 came with wider rear tires as well. I think it was 225s for the AP1, and the AP2 had 245, so that also increased rear stability.
All right. So do you think that was more of a knee-jerk reaction than a we're going to improve this car? Like, if that chatter wasn't around, do you think they would have improved it in that way? Like, made it more neutral, more forgiving?
I think that was always going to happen. Because, like, I look at the AP1 and you look at the 16-inch wheels and you're like, man, it's just too tiny for that car.
Mm.
And then, of course, always for the refresh, they're always going to change the wheels setup, and they had no choice but to increase the diameter to 17 inches. And when you increase that, you're going to have to look at width. So they increase the width, and then by that, you increase, the track of the car. You're going to have to modify the suspension a little bit.
Mm.
And I think the alignment settings have a lot to deal with it as well. So I think it's an improved chassis for the average consumer that's not going to push it that hard. But, I think for those who really want to get a kick out of an S2000, I say go AP1.
Yeah, I get that impression. I don't think I could call it, but I would definitely go with your advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, going back, everyone wants the AP2 on the used car market.
Yes.
Would you go for an AP1 and then put bigger wheels on it?
I definitely would. But I'm kind of partial to the AP2 because my uncle owned a 2007 AP2, which I spent a lot of time with. So I have that connection with the later model years, and really learned how to drive rear-wheel drive. That was, I think, my first experience with a rear-wheel drive car, driving hard, in the canyons. And I was 18, 19 at the time, and driving an S2000, that's pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, you got the perfect introduction, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was definitely nervous at first. I'm like, this car is really faster than my Integra. It's rear-wheel drive, but have some time with the car, it'll teach you to be a better driver. With the tight steering ratio, that shifter feel is among the best I've ever felt. Till this day, it's still, I haven't driven an NSX yet, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close up there in terms of shifting feel.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like, you sit inside it and the whole thing is just designed around the driver, the passenger, whatever, the driver. Even the AC controls are right next to the steering wheel where your right hand is. There's no glove box.
It is.
Everything's kind of just facing the driver. There's no the passenger leaning over to change the air settings. And even the stereo, I mean, the stereos they came with were terrible and hidden.
It is.
It's
a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah. Stereo.
No, you're not. You want a 6-sound system and go buy another car.
Yeah, and I think that was a big clue to Honda's mindset when they were putting that car together. Like, they wanted to build a driver's car.
Absolutely. And until this day, if I recently got into an S2000 maybe less than a year ago, and in terms of chassis rigidity and stiffness, it still holds up.
And that's considering it's generally a soft top as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Honda did focus on the chassis rigidity to make sure it's as stiff as can be, despite having that open top. And, That's why the S2000 is still regarded as still one of the best, sports cars out. FR, and it's almost like the last year, 2009, almost 10 years old, and it still holds up. It's amazing.
And looks wise as well. I was watching some videos earlier today, just thought I'd give myself a little refresher. And my wife's sitting there, and she's like, "That looks really good. Like you could drive that now, and it looks like a very modern car." It's like, yeah, I mean, the design's 10 years old. You look at the styling cues, like the headlights are what Mazda's only really done in the ND generation. Mm-hmm. And like kind of that curved round shape coming up the side rather. It's not rounded, it's a little bit jagged, and the rear end still looks lovely and modern. Like it still looks a really good car. It's dating very slowly.
It is. And the AP2 is holding well. The AP1 looks a bit older. Mm. If you look at the front end, especially the rear taillights, I do like the taillights on the AP2 a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you see one with the OEM Honda hardtop, oh, gorgeous.
That hardtop looks fantastic, doesn't it?
It does.
It changes the character of the car, like looks wise, and just it looks that little bit more aggressive, and like finishes off that middle third.
It does. It's the absolute business.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. One time I saw this middle-aged woman, this blonde woman, in a red AP2, OEM options, everything. I'm talking the OEM front lip, the trunk spoiler, the OEM hardtop, everything you can get pretty much on the Honda catalog for your AP2. She had it, and she had no idea what she had.
Oh no!
Oh, I was so jealous. I'm like, you could sell your car for so much, lady. You have no idea.
Yeah, the first thought that passed through your head is like, she's smoking hot. Oh wow, look at that car.
Forget the driver, the car, man, the car.
Man, so what do you reckon? Like, could you honestly justify spending the money you'd have to spend to get a decent, or I mean, let's say decent. I mean, a minty fresh one. People are keeping them garaged and as fresh as they can. Let's just say a well-maintained, nice example with a reasonable amount of miles.
Absolutely. They're getting up in price, especially if they have low miles. Like a later model year AP2 under 100,000 miles, it's selling well over 20 grand now.
Right.
And
you could literally go out and buy a Civic. You could go and buy an SI for the same sort of money.
Right. Like, you want the new SI or S2000? It depends where you are in life. If you're looking for a daily driver or a weekend car, track car, then yeah, if you have money to spend, I think 15 for a decent, it has to be a super clean AP1 or a decent AP2 for around 15, 17. That's probably where the sweet spot is right now. So, but yeah, I wrote this bit. You're going to see it in a couple of days about, there was this 2008 Club Racer. So the CR, the Club Racer, was a special model that came out the last 2 years of production. So it was lighter. It had more aggressive suspension. They removed the soft top, had a removable hard top. And it was basically the, track ready S2000, turn the key, drive to the track, do your hot laps, go home, take your wife on a date. That was basically what it was. And it's pretty much, I don't want to quite say the Type R version, but let's say SI plus version
Right.
for the S2000.
So was that with? Did they have a firmer suspension set up in that?
It did. They had
'Cause the ride's pretty harsh
more
already,
yeah.
if I recall correctly.
It's pretty stiff, but they stiffened up even more. They revalved the dampers, and then they had stiffer spring rates. A larger diameter rear sway bar, and then of course you can't forget, that large rear wing, and then the front air dam splitter. So I haven't seen one on the road in quite a long time, and that particular one sold for 24,000, and it had just about 90,000 on the odometer.
Right. That seems like given the market, a fair enough price for something that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fair too.
Yeah.
So 24,000 is just right around MSRP for a 2017 Civic Si.
Exactly. Oh,
So,
which do you want?
you want the CR or the Si? That's tough.
So the next question is kind of like where are Honda going to go if they go ahead with doing a follow-up with the S2000?
You want to take a crack at it?
I don't know. It's one of those things where you look at the NSX and where they went with that. Was it as bigger a gap between the NSX and the the original NSX and the new NSX? Because
a lot of people look at the new NSX as like a sequel. I want to call it like a remake. You have pick your old favorite movie from the 80s and the 90s or whatever, and you know how the film industry, they're making remakes of the old films. So it's a little bit of the old, but on a modern take. And that's how I take the new NSX. They put so much pressure on making, and the fans want this to be as good, as much of an impact for the industry as the old one. It's not going to happen. That time, the early 90s, late 80s, was such a different era from 2016, 17.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's comparing apples to oranges. So, a lot of people like, oh my gosh, it's brake-by-wire, it's, V6, it's 4 motors in there. Like, so I'm like, why don't you go drive it?
Yeah.
And then come back to me. Come back.
A lot of complaints you hear now, even, I think it was the AP2. Didn't the AP2 have throttle-by-wire?
They started having throttle-by-wire, I believe, for the 07
electric assisted steering as well.
I think so. I gotta check. I could have sworn it was still hydraulic, but the later years didn't have electric, if I recall. But the one my uncle had, 07, it did have drive-by-wire throttle. It was fine. It didn't feel like there was much of a delay once I got on the throttle. At the time it was still new, but for whatever reason, Honda hit the nail in the coffin. It was great. So to me, it wasn't much of an issue compared to the older model years where it was still, mechanical throttle cable.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really have a problem with throttle by wire or brake by wire. Like,
have you driven a carbon brake by wire? I haven't yet.
I'm trying to think if I have. No, I don't think I have.
Kind of interested. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how that feels.
Well, in theory, it shouldn't feel any different, or it should react a bit quicker. Like the only thing is, it's a way of connecting a thing to a thing. And if it's done right, it'll feel good. If it's done badly, it'll feel bad, like any system, like any brake system.
Absolutely. Sure.
So I can't see why it would be bad if it's done right. That makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm just curious to how the brake pedal would feel under hard braking when you're almost at the limit of when the ABS would kick in. You kind of feel it in the pedal where you're kind of modulating the brake, right?
Yeah.
I want to see if it's the same sort of event that occurs.
Yeah, the same sort of feedback.
Yes. Because it would be kind of startling if you don't get that feedback, but, knowing if you're on the limit or you're not. So it's...
that's literally something that will be programmed in.
Sure.
How that's going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now my mission in life is going to make sure I go and drive a car with brake-by-wire.
It's on the list.
Yeah. I don't know what the legalities of it is in the US at the moment, or California specifically. Because I know they're going to have a backup system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, as with the new S2000, if it was to happen, if it does happen, I covered the patents that were filed in the European Union Intellectual Property Office.
Okay.
Could I stumble over my words a bit more?
It's
yeah,
all right. That was a mouthful.
The first patent set of drawings came up in like 2015, and it was just after the NSX was released, and it kind of showed it's a mid-engine. Like, it's definitely mid-engine. It does look NSX-y, and I think if that car's ever going to come to fruition, I suspect they will make a baby NSX as opposed to a new S2000. Like, the idea of doing an S2000 as a mid-engine car would be a little bit baffling, wouldn't it?
Almost like the mid-engine Corvette we're going to get pretty soon, right?
Yeah. Then
almost.
I have no doubt in my mind that is going to be called not a Corvette.
Interesting.
I just don't see any logic to calling it a Corvette and pissing off your hardcore. A Corvette should be a front-engine V8.
Yeah, there will be riots. Absolutely.
Yeah. And to produce a mid-engine Corvette would be a little bit baffling. But for them to produce an actual supercar rather than a car they call a supercar, we'll have that discussion on a different podcast. Yeah. A Corvette is not a supercar. Then it's just not.
Let them know, Ian. It's okay.
I kind of wrote a thing about it and pissed the whole world off, I think, with that. But yeah, like the S2000, you think, if you explain to someone who's never seen one before what an S2000 is, it's an affordable rear-wheel drive sports car, 2-seater
with the engine in the front.
Yeah, that's like item 4, isn't it?
Okay.
That's like, it's a sports car. It's affordable. It's got 2 seats, and it's front-engined.
Yes,
like that. That is an S2000. So doing a mid-engined small sports car would make more sense to me. I mean, there may be arguments otherwise, but it makes more sense to me to make that a baby NSX, either a smaller version or a more inexpensive version. Because I mean, Acura aren't in the business of making super high-end cars.
No,
like they're like the layer above Honda, aren't they?
Yes.
So a baby NSX would sit a layer below Honda if Honda are making the S2000. Like, your progression would be S2000, Mini NSX, whatever they end up calling that, and then the full-blooded NSX.
That's correct. Sounds right on them, right on the money there.
Yeah. But here's the thing: you go and look at those. I'll put a link in the show notes. If you go and look at those patent pictures,
Mm-hmm.
it does have quite a bit in common with the S660.
I remember reading and seeing those photos, and it did look like a baby NSX. The thing that kind of baffles me is that we haven't heard much since then.
No.
And remember what I told you in an earlier episode, that my friend from Honda manufacturing in Ohio said, we're coming up with stuff that are fun to drive. I'm like, okay, you can't say much.
No.
But it's coming down the pipeline. I'm like, hold my breath and I'll believe it when I see it. Until I get a press release from Honda, I'm not gonna believe anything. But when things like this pop up, and it's 2 years ago, either they're being super covert and quiet about it, or they scrapped it. So,
well, the first set were released in 2015. The second set, which like the first set was very much a finished product kind of picture, like it,
okay.
I mean, computer aided design. The second one gives you the interior and like the vents and a little more detail. And that was July 26th. I posted that. The doors are removed, the roof is removed, so you can see like it's a two-seater. But it has got that rectangular steering wheel, which says concept car.
Right.
So, who knows? It's very much speculation.
It is.
And they also, I mean, it's interesting to note that the patents were filed with the European Union Intellectual Property Office rather than an American one. And your friends in America, mind you, I think, if I remember rightly, Honda of America worked with the UK mainly on the new Civic hatchback. So we know they work together, depending on what they want to do.
Yes.
What would you hope out of a 2019, 2020 S2000?
If they're going to call it the S anything, I'd hope it'd be front engine rear wheel drive, just like the previous S2000. And before that, the S600, the S800 before that. I want them to keep with tradition as the classic roadster layout. If they're going to do this mid-engine thing, specs call it something else. But obviously, we're not going to get another, VTEC high revving four banger again. It's obviously going to be turbocharged.
Yeah, and when I was talking with the wife earlier, I was thinking like, wouldn't it be nice if they put like the 2.4 litre VTEC that's been in just about everything, the direct injection, like just a newer unit into that.
Yeah,
where you've got the torque, you've still got the horsepower. I mean, what were the S2000? They were around 240. Am I right?
Yeah, around 240.
So there are engines that exist already that are around there. Like for a new one, it would be nice if they got it a little nearer 300. I don't think I'd want over 300. I wouldn't want Type R kind of power in that. Like the mid 200s is kind of like the sweet spot for a roadster like that.
It is a sweet spot, right? Because if they had it around 300 horsepower, they would be kind of competing in the territory of the Civic Type R.
Yes.
Right? I know they're different.
Maybe do a Type R version.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
A batshit crazy S2000 roadster. And
you mentioned having the 2.4 liter engine in the S2000 chassis. That's a bit of a a thing that's going on right now. People are buying S2000 chassis without the engines, and buying K24s swaps and swapping them into S2000s. And,
which makes sense.
they sell the mount. Yeah, they're cheaper than buying a used S2000 F20C or F22C, and you can get a K24 long block, just the motor itself, for like $1,100. And you just need to spend maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500 more on parts, and then do labor yourself. You'll have a 2.4 liter. It'll be an S2400.
Yeah.
You won't have as much horsepower up top, but you have way more torque.
Yeah, way more torque, and your fuel economy will increase dramatically. Like, you could probably pay for it over the course of the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Just in saving fuel.
And when I said I wanted an S2000, if I really wanted to go the cheaper route, I'd probably find, an S2000 that got stolen, doesn't have an engine.
Mm-hmm.
I picked that up for cheap, and then I could source a K24 easy for $1,000, and then there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going down that route, then a salvage title isn't the end of the world, because if you build something like that, you're going to love it and you're going to hold on to it. You're not going to have resale in your head at all, are you?
Not really. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole 2.4 liter thing, and it just jogged my memory. I'm like, wait, people are doing that right now.
Yeah. So I haven't really been following S2000s, but I'm having a little browse through Honda Tech, which we both write some stuff for, and
yes, we do. Shameless plug.
Is that go and read our articles and just click the hell out of them.
Yes.
Is that where your S2000 articles are going to go?
They're actually going on s2ki.com.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Have I written for that one? I don't think I have. No, the last S2000 one I did was for Honda Tech. Because, I was just browsing through there looking for my article, and I typed in the search term of S2000. I just got a load of S2000 ones, like the Amuse wide body Honda S2000.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, 430 horsepower. And
yes, please.
Yeah, turbocharged. And it's got like the Amuse GT1 body kit. It does look it looks a little bit bonkers. It looks like someone has taken their S2000 down to the gym for a year.
There you go. It's swole, bro.
Yeah, it looks like it's done a lot of leg day.
Driving S2000 is fun enough in stock form in terms of engine power, but once you add a turbo, especially a big turbo, it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
I drove one with 450 horsepower to the wheels, and I was peeling out first, second, and third, maybe a little bit of fourth too. It is insane.
I can only imagine. I need to drive something like that.
You should.
Because I have this unfortunate thing where I can't fit in a Miata.
They're tiny.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10", and I feel like I'm just snug in there already.
Yeah. Which is why I've always thought of the S2000 as being like the grown-ups Miata.
Oh, there's so much leg room.
Yeah. I mean, perfect. I'm 6'1", and I'm absolutely fine. There's a little bit left over, which is perfect for me. Because when I was shopping for the BMW, I was looking at S2000s, and I just couldn't justify the money. I just couldn't quite justify the money. Not for where I live and what I was going to use it for. Dropping 15 grand on a sports car that was going to have a hard life, and I would devalue the shit out of it. I couldn't really justify that.
But every time you hit red line, like all those regrets would just immediately go away.
Do you think so? And all the rock chips from the mountain.
It's fun. If you don't have rock chips on your S2000, you bought the wrong car.
The thing is, I can't.
It's meant to be driven.
That's what I mean about, can you justify that cost? Because that's a car you buy, and chances are the value of that is only really going to go up if it's kept nice.
Yeah, they are going up. All the clean ones are going up. They're not going down.
And if Honda were to release an S2 whatever, the value would
go up even more. Skyrocket.
So I couldn't in good conscience buy 15 grand's worth of old car. It's not old, but it's old enough to be wary of, knowing that there's only X amount of them in the world. And then, drive the shit out of it, rock chip it, and do you know what I mean? It's like I couldn't justify doing that to that car. I would feel bad, even if it's screaming at 8,000 revs up a canyon or a mountain. I just couldn't do that to a car. I had to buy something that I would have no regrets if it gets chipped and scratched and bumped.
You did make a good choice, but I feel like within 5 years' time, we're both going to be S2000 owners. It's just something I'm getting, like a gut feeling, I think, Ian.
Oh, if they bring out a new one, I will be looking at my credit score. I will be doing all sorts of things trying to find a way to justify it.
Wait, Ian, we're forgetting. You might actually get an Accord Coupe V6. You haven't forgotten about that. In a 6-speed manual.
So many cars, so little time and money.
There is.
Yeah, I still regret not having that cool coupe still.
It's okay. You still look towards the future. You never know.
You've got to love the car you're with.
Yes.
That's the way I've got to approach it. I've got to love the car I'm with.
Yes.
And, its time will come when that will either die or I'll get tired of it or whatever happens to it. And, yeah.
I'm just going to bring up S2000 or Accord Coupe V6 every episode. And then I'm going to brainwash you. Then you're going to do a thing. And then you're going to send me a photo. Matt, I did a thing.
Just drop that brainworm.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So is there anything else you want to bring up about the S2000?
I think the last thing I guess I have a question for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Would you choose an S2000, Miata, or another type of roadster like a Lotus Elise Boxster or a BMW Z4?
Oh, that's such a good question. And you're asking someone that's terrible at making decisions. Like when it comes to cars.
It's okay.
Because I want everything.
That's why I know. You could only choose one or the other.
Well, the reality is I am actually seriously considering getting rid of the BMW and going to look for an old Boxster.
Ooh.
I'm actually...
See, I knew this was a good question.
Yeah. It's something I've been eyeing up for years now. Like, just in the corner of my eye, I wouldn't mind a Boxster. And the price now for what you can get for the miles, and they're not cars that tend to go wrong a lot, which is like your worry with Porsche, isn't it?
Sure.
It's got...
But if, with the right research and, advice from people that we know, like Brad, who has a Boxster, like our in-house Porsche enthusiast professional, I think we could do no wrong if we have them by our side for it.
Yeah. And you can...
shopping advice.
You can pick up a lot of car for the money, and Porsches tend to be garaged. In California, that's kind of a thing.
It is.
Because heat kills paint, and desert kills paint as well. So it's on my mind. Something else I was looking at when I was looking at BMW, I was looking at one of the Z cars. I think it might have been the 3.
Okay.
I think that was
earlier
kind
ones,
of,
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of in my price range. But someone around the corner to me has just bought an old Z4. And I keep driving by and looking at it because it's one of those cars I've always been on the fence about. Looks-wise. I always look at them and think, it's trying a bit too hard. Whereas the S2000 sits there and just looks good. The Boxster sits there and it's not the best looking Porsche. Like, it's not a great looking car. The proportions, the overhang at the front and rear on the Boxster
right,
detract from its overall look. The Z cars just look that they're trying a little bit too hard, and they do look a little bit phallic, even though they're tiny. And I've just never quite been able to get over that with them, like to the point where I would go down and put down money and buy one.
Right.
And I don't think the performance has ever been there, like has been up to par with what the car kind of looks like it's promising. I don't think the performance has ever been there. I mean, I've driven Z3s. One of them I drove down in San Diego. No, not San Diego. Yeah, San Diego, down Del Mar way.
Okay.
And well, everybody has a BMW down there.
This is true.
And I just wasn't impressed by it. It was great. I just didn't get that sense from it. Like, the power wasn't quite what it should have been. The way you sit and feel inside the car wasn't quite what it should have been. The way it turned wasn't. It just felt like a car that just didn't live up to the expectation you'd have with it.
Right, a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it wasn't like I had this idea in my head that it was going to be so amazing and what have you. I just thought a BMW Roadster is probably going to be a pretty good car, and it was kind of like, yeah, it's okay, all right,
it's all right. Moving on.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's the Porsche Boxster, because I mean, performance-wise, a flat 6, just what a fun engine. You just got to own one once, I think.
Yeah.
And so it would be a toss-up between the S2000 and the Boxster. And for where I am right now, I wouldn't worry about I mean, you're talking like 15 grand for an S2000, and you can get a decent Boxster for 7-8 grand.
You could, like the earlier model years, the 986, I believe. It's the older one. You can see some for, well, depending on the mileage, they're like 10 grand, 12.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and you've got something kind of really special there, but at the same time, it's common enough that it's probably not really going to go up in value. So those rock chips, that harsh desert sun.
I'll take the rock chips. I'll just repaint it.
Yeah, exactly. On an S2000, though, I'd still feel a little rough about it. So what about you? What? I mean, you're not just a Honda head, are you? You are a genuine all-round car enthusiast. It's just
all around.
Honda is kind of...
It's kind of what I've just been around all my driving life since 16. So it's what I know the most, but, you know, I tend to try to educate myself all around. I wanted to ask you, Miss Elise.
You notice that I didn't say anything about it.
I did.
I genuinely don't care about it.
Okay.
That a Lotus Elise to me is just a recipe for financial disaster. Like, they're great cars, but they are kind of parts binny. Like, true. And the older you go, you know, you're not getting a Lotus engine. You're getting an engine from another car company.
It's a Toyota engine.
So, I mean, the Toyota engine's probably going to go the distance, but I don't know. But to actually drive one, they are delightful. They are utterly delightful, and I understand why people put money on them.
I've yet to drive one. I really want to drive one. I feel like if I do, I'm going to want one. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I I think you'll be surprised about. I mean, when you get an S2000, they don't have that thunk in the door, like that kind of build quality that you get now, where you shut a door and it's like thunk. Like it's a little bit. There's a little bit tinny. A Lotus Elise is a lot tinny. So, but then they're not really. They're designed to be really wonderful cars to drive. That's where the onus has gone on Lotuses.
Right.
Like,
right.
Any Lotus you buy or drive, that car has been built to be fun to drive. They don't build a 4-door station wagon.
Mm-hmm.
They only build sports cars.
Fun to drive. It's your second or your third, fourth car. Correct.
Yeah. So to be honest, like much as I love Lotus and a Lotus Elise, so you hand me the keys, I'm fucking gone. But would I put my own money there? Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I've yet to drive one. I feel like I might fall in love. I'm almost scared to get inside one and just spank one. I'm probably going to be just fall in love. I'm all for lightweight cars that rev really high, and I'm probably going to sink into that hole. So when like the time comes, I'm probably going to shoot you a message and, oh no, something's gone wrong.
the car I've got like that I will own at some point. I mean, we're well off Honda territory with this one, but I will at some point own a Mazda RX-8.
Oh, yes.
It will be the most foolish decision I've ever made, and I will go into it knowing that.
It's not.
You don't think?
Good one.
But I don't know.
They handle so well. And that engine just revs up to 9 like nothing. So nice.
But what if Honda were to make a kind of a 4-door sports? No, forget that. Anyway, you didn't answer the question. Which would?
Right. Which one would I have? Okay. Well,
quit avoiding the question, Matt.
I'm not avoiding the question. Okay. I guess what we're setting around 15,000. The reality is you can't really find a decent Elise for 15. The cheapest you'll get is around 20.
Mm-hmm. And you're in America, so
I know
you've got the whole parts thing as well.
I know that because have I been looking? Kind of, but that's besides the point. Boxster,
I don't see you in a Boxster. Like, I really don't.
Do you not?
No.
But you know how big of a Porsche fan I am. Like,
yeah, but like I see you in a 911 of any kind whatsoever. Even the ones enthusiasts turn their nose up at. But I just don't see you in a Boxster. I don't see you in a Cayman. I don't see you in a Cayenne. I see you in a 911.
I'm quoting you on that. What's today's date? What time is it? It's going on Facebook.
It's Wednesday, September the 6th, 10:49 p.m.
Yes. That is the greatest compliment I've gotten in a long while. I see you in a 911. Please let it happen.
Yeah. So when I saw Manuel when he did the Bentley video, he's just like looks at and went, "Yeah, that's your car, dude. Like that is your car."
Oh,
he's just Manuel in a Bentley is just natural looking to me.
Yes, it does, especially with that hairdo. Oh man,
which
so
one?
Sleek. Right. But yeah, it would probably be S2000. I've driven Z4. I haven't driven the Z3. The Z4. It looks good from like the rear 3/4 angle. I do like the long hood.
Good point. Well made.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it straight on from the front, it doesn't look that beautiful in particular. But
no,
it doesn't look good standing still. It needs to be moving, right? So if it's being driven, it looks great. In cars, it'll look good if it's stationary, and then some will look good moving. So with that in mind, if we're talking budget around 15, max 20, it'd probably be an AP2 S2000. Yeah,
Fair enough.
That's my, not to, just because we're on a Honda podcast. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was where my money would go.
I think both of us would. I mean, if I was in a better position than I am, and I had a bigger garage, and I had spare money, then the BMW would be the throw it around car, the go wherever.
Your beater. Yeah.
Well, not even beater. I mean, I take good care of it. I just don't obsess over the paint. I'm one of those people with I really hate chips and scratches on cars. That's something I will just sort out straight away. And the BMW, I had to go, right, no. If you do that, then you're not going to drive it like you want to drive it. You're not going to take it where you want to take it as often as you want to take it. Whereas an S2000, I feel like that would be the car that at the weekend you go, okay, I'm going to drive down to LA and I'm going to go and explore those canyons.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than finish a podcast here and go, oh, I fancy driving up the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, the BMW is just like, oh, I'll just go and drive it wherever and do whatever. Whereas the S2000 would be like, okay, if it gets rock chipped, it gets rock chipped. But I'm not going to put it in that position too often to get that.
Okay, I got you.
Get that road rash.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way.
Yeah. The cars on my list that I want to own, the S2000 it's high on it. It's just not a practical car for me to own right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was.
I wouldn't drive it every day either. It would probably be on the weekends to the canyons or stuff like that as well.
Keep the miles low, but enjoy it when you can.
Absolutely.
Proper enjoy it. That's like the really good steak as opposed to a bit of, I don't know. I know where I was going with that.
I don't know, but I'm thinking about steak right now, though.
Yeah, I just got hungry. God, I'm on the no carbs thing, and the best thing about that is it's an excuse. We're gonna have steak and vegetables.
Can't go wrong with steak and veggies. Yep.
Nope. So, shall we jump to a question?
Sure.
Sweet. We had one from Fixie. Oh God, I'm going to feel bad if I don't name check them because they asked a question that we have actually already answered.
Okay.
Because we are so damn efficient. Flixie Mad Fox.
We are.
We are. Any hopes and wants for the new S2000? Yeah, we've covered that.
We covered that. Yes.
But thank you for asking. But Deadpool, who is just an absolute hero.
Deadpool, what's up, Deadpool?
And she wants. I think Deadpool is actually a she.
Okay.
In a car, in an online car community where there are so many males, I actually have a feeling Deadpool might be a she.
That's great.
Do you think there's any merit to the argument that someone should never modify their S2000 because mods would ruin the car? And have you ever come across a person like this?
That's a great two-parter right there.
Yeah. I think the answer to the second one is kind of funny.
It is funny. I like that. Well, like as I mentioned earlier, there are two sides to the S2000. You're either gonna find the owners that do not touch the car at all, leave it bone stock and in stock form straight from the factory. It's a great bit of car. It handles great, has great power. It's just perfect the way it is. However, if you want to have a little bit more fun and tune it to your driving style, you can do that as well. You can modify everything on the car engine mod, suspension, wheels, tires, turbocharging. The list goes on and on.
It's also a car where an alignment makes a huge amount of difference.
Oh, yes.
Like some cars are, I mean, not immune to it, but it doesn't change the character as much as you would think. But the S2000, given the AP1 particularly, I mean, I got to drive a couple, and one of them, all it had was an alignment done by a specialist who basically went, what do you use it for? Blah, 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 and then just went and did what he did. And the car felt really different.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a couple of cars where I've gone and done that and come away, and the car just feels really good, not different. It feels like the car should feel. Whereas if that makes sense, the amount of tunability you have in just, the camber, the caster, the whatever you're going to go in there and change with the alignment, there's a lot to be had just by doing that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
sorry, I just threw you off, didn't I?
You're good. You're good. Just to go back to the question, have I met anyone that was against modifying it? I haven't yet, because I have a lot of friends who have owned or actually still own S2000s, and my uncle's S2000 was pretty much bone stock minus the cold air intake he had. It was a daily driver, so he didn't want to lower the suspension. He didn't want to add a loud exhaust because he wanted to avoid police, getting a ticket for, too loud or whatever. So he was part of the camp where I'm not going to do much to it. Leave it 99% stock. And he was fine with it. It looked great. He did have rock chips, which was awesome. but yeah, then you have the other side where my friends go all out, hard top, coilovers, wheel suspension, a tune, everything. And it's really preference. It comes down to preference. What do you want to do it? What is it to you? Is it your track car? Is it your weekend car that you just want to take on the back roads? Or is it your daily driver? It depends. So the S2000 can be whatever you want it to be. And much like other Hondas, you can do whatever you want. Right? So hope that answers your question, Deadpool.
Actually, while you've been talking, I've actually formulated a theory.
Okay.
I don't think there is a lot of that, oh my God, you've ruined it just by modifying it at the moment, because there's enough of them where people are like, right, I'm going to keep this pristine. I want to keep it clean and stock. Like the stock enthusiast, if you like. So it probably is about half and half, isn't it? The amount of people that modify it.
Pretty much down 50-50, I think.
Right. So we're not at the stage yet where they are rare stock. They're not common, but a stock one isn't rare. Whereas if you go and look at the Mazda, the MX-5 now, NA Mazdas have reached that point where it's rare to find them bone stock.
Because they've all been tampered with.
Yeah. Like they've all reached that price point where people buy them just to, and then just go, oh, I'm modifying, it's no big deal, I'll do whatever. But S2000 owners tend to be a little bit more technical minded. Like a little bit more enthusiast. It's not a casual enthusiast car, is it?
It's not.
It might have been.
Right.
It might have been when it was new, which is why they softened the edges for the AP2. But after that, now not many people are going, oh, I'm going to go and buy an S2000 because it looks really good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Honda, so it doesn't have badge cachet that other cars kind of suffer from that end up overpriced because people buy them because they look at Corvettes. The amount of people that own Corvettes because it's a Corvette. I want to be seen in a Corvette. People don't buy S2000s because they want to be seen in an S2000 as much because they want to drive an S2000.
I absolutely agree with you on that.
So I think maybe in another 5 to 10 years, we might start seeing the people that are bitching about people modifying S2000s. And But we've still got those people that are keeping them straight because they want to keep it straight or they want to hold the value. Because as we know, like, modifying a car does not increase value ever. Well,
yeah,
unless it's pretty fucking special. But I'm gonna have to bleep this twice now. Damn it!
It's okay. It's all right. No worries.
And
that just means within 5 years we need to each have a bone stock S2000 that's pristine, low miles.
Well, do you know what the answer is?
Yeah,
we buy two each.
That's fine.
You buy one that you park in the garage and you drive on a Sunday, and then you buy and you just let the value go up, and then you buy the other one that you tweak and tune to your heart's desire till it's exactly suits you.
In a perfect world,
right?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I actually had a discussion with a friend before the Civic Type R came out. We said you should buy two Civic Type Rs. One that you could fool around with and have fun, track whatever. The other one, you flat tow it from the dealer and just park it. Put it on jack stands and let it just increase in value over time.
Yeah.
It'll have 0 miles on the odometer or whatever, 1 or 2 miles, right, on the odometer.
Uh-huh.
And you just have it there as a little piggy bank in your garage, just increasing in value. That would have been crazy. That would have been cool.
Yeah. And no doubt that sooner or later, because, some are going to get stuck into trees. Some are just going to get ragged. Yeah, already. Some are going to just get driven into the ground. Some are going to become track day monsters, and gradually they will go away until there's no minty fresh ones left.
I can't wait to get a used one.
No. Do you think that we're going over time now? But
all right,
this just occurred to me. Do you think that Honda Accord coupes will start to gain not necessarily gain value, but hold their value better, or maybe even gain value if this is the end of the Honda Accord coupe, if they don't bring it back in a couple of years? Do you think 5 to 10 years time, like a 2010, 2011 Accord coupe would be something people would be seeking?
I honestly don't think so. As much as we're both fans of the Accord coupe, the later model years, they're not very sought after.
No, it's kind of odd, isn't it?
In terms of the used market, not really. But that just means there's more for us to look at.
Yeah.
So forget everyone else. Leave them for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see the values going up or just kind of holding steadily. As usual, Honda's resale values slowly go down, but not as much as the other manufacturers, right? But it'll still hold, but I don't think it's going to be high in demand.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just occurred to me, but we'd better tie this up.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, Matt.
Yes.
And where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at The Driving Emotions, and then you can find me on Facebook at Matt Eugenio.
There you go. And we have a Facebook page now. I haven't done anything with it as of this. But I'm going to try and tie that all up together this week. And I'm thinking, I wonder if we release on Monday as a finished item. Might be the best bet. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the best bet. If we say we're going to release this on Monday, obviously people listening to now are going, why are you telling us this? But we're trying to get a couple of episodes ahead.
Because we're going back in time and forward in time, because we secretly turned an S2000 into the time machine.
Yeah, the S2000 Tardis edition.
Yes.
Sweet. Well, thank you, people, for listening, and thank you for showing up, Matt. And we'll be back
All
soon.
right. Until next time.